I want to invite a special guest up to the stage. Congressman Jason Lewis from Minnesota was elected to serve Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District in 2016. Prior to being elected, he was a radio talk show host, so I think this is going to be a good venue for him today. A commentator and a writer, and also served on committees in the House for Budget, Education and Workforce, Transportation and Infrastructure committees. He believes that there are better ways to spend American tax dollars and keep our communities safe through real evidence-based initiatives that actually reduce crime, which I think is pretty consistent with the conversation we've been having today. He is co-sponsor of the bipartisan Second Chance Reauthorization Act of 2017, and along with Bobby Scott of Virginia, a Democrat, he recently introduced the Safe Justice Act, which is aimed at safely realigning in size the associated costs with the federal criminal code and prison system. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Lewis.
Thank you so much, and welcome to Washington. It is a real pleasure to be able to join you today. As someone who's committed to improving our criminal justice system just like you, I applaud the efforts of so many of you, the efforts you've made in your home state to increase public safety and make common sense reforms. Unfortunately, the federal government has been slow to make the same progress many of you have made. During the past decade, states have reduced their imprisonment rate by 4%, while the federal imprisonment rate has jumped 15%. We have seen an expansive increase in federal criminal laws, both as to the number of offenses and the subject matter they cover. Since 1980, annual spending on the federal prison system rose 595%, from $970 million to more than $6.7 billion. Today, there are more than 4,500 federal crimes on the books. The number of federal offenses is too expansive for the average American to be familiar with it. And many of the federal criminal offenses exceed, in my view, the constitutional authority of the federal government. The criminalization of conduct that is inherently local in nature has endangered the constitutionalism, the federalism, and the prerogative of states that we all adhere to. People receive unduly harsh sentences, separating them from their families, wasting taxpayer dollars, all the while doing little to improve public safety. All of this highlights why this summit is so important. This is a place where states can exchange their ideas, learn from their successes, and learn from their neighbors. The achievements at the state level have inspired many of us working at the federal level. Just last week, as mentioned, I worked with Congressman Bobby Scott of Virginia to introduce the Safe Justice Act. The bill is a holistic approach to improving the federal criminal justice system and is significantly influenced by the positive reforms all of you have made at the state level. The Safe Justice Act will break the cycle of recidivism, concentrate prison space on violent and career criminals, increase the use of evidence-based alternatives to incarceration, curtail over-criminalization, reduce crime, and save money. This isn't the first bill, however, though, I've worked on with Congressman Scott. I also introduced the Juvenile Justice Reform Act with the Virginia Democrat because this is a bipartisan issue. When a child makes a bad decision, they need a rehabilitative, positive interaction with the justice system to get them back on the right track. And we can do a better job at every level to make these interactions with the criminal justice system more positive and more productive for society. And that's what both the Safe Justice Act and the Juvenile Justice Reform Bill aim to do. A flawed criminal code can have an immensely detrimental effect on communities and families. Now let me be clear. No one is for putting hardened criminals behind bars more than I am. But right now there are more than 2 million Americans imprisoned, leaving 1 in every 28 American children with an incarcerated family, for an incarcerated parent or family member. So together, you at the state level, we at the federal level, we can work on policies that will strengthen our communities, keep families intact, and encourage personal responsibilities. That's why I'm so glad to be here today and why the exchange of ideas at this summit will help ensure that every level of government, from our local communities to the state level to the federal level, work hand in hand to support common sense policies that adhere to our Constitution, adhere to the state's police power, and make good criminal justice reform sense. That's what you're doing, and that's what I'm trying to do. So thanks for all your hard work. I've got to go over to the Capitol and cast a vote or two now, but I appreciate everything you're doing in this summit and back in your home states. You are a guidepost to much of what we do at the federal government, so keep up the great work, and I'll see you all soon.